There was no fanfare, but Australia's 20-year mission in Afghanistan is over. The near silence from Canberra, a stark contrast to how it began in the aftermath of the September 11 attacks.
That was an attack on Australia as much as it was an attack on the United States.
We will not falter, and we will not fail.
There were two main objectives: destroy the Al-Qaeda training camps and the Taliban's military capabilities.
The coalition victory happened remarkably quickly. The Taliban collapsed quite rapidly, and every military operation undertaken against them was successful.
Why then did we send 39,000 troops to Afghanistan in the next 2 decades? John Blaxland is one of Australia's leading intelligence strategists. He says we simply followed the US with no real strategy, and those on the ground paid the price.
Tracer, Jeremy, down! Down!
It was too cute by half. It was inadequately superficial, inadequately resourced, inadequately thought through.
Hugh Pote's only son, Robert, was one of the 41 Australians killed in Afghanistan.
He was just one of those regular good guys, I suppose you'd say.
Robert and 2 other Australians died in 2012 when an Afghan soldier went rogue inside their base. Uruzgan province, where most Australians served, is now almost entirely in the hands of the Taliban. Robert's father wonders why his son was sent to Afghanistan at all.
It was in vain. Yes, that's the way I would describe it. Staying on to fight an unwinnable war against the Taliban. So yes, it was in vain.
It's hard to disagree with him, particularly when you consider the 500 Australians who've taken their lives after serving in Afghanistan.
The overwhelming majority of them acted honourably, and we as Australians can be proud of what they tried to do. I think the same probably can't be said for our politicians and some of our senior commanders. So,
where are we today? The Taliban now controls 218 of Afghanistan's 421 districts, 53% of the country, including several vital border crossings. That's more territory than they've held for 20 years. Meanwhile, many doubt the Afghan army is equal to the challenge. The Taliban are still merciless killers, allegedly executing 22 commandos who tried to surrender.
The Taliban said that they have been changed. Give us some indication that you have been changed. Reduce the violence. But the reality is that Taliban are even much more brutal. Imagine the vaccinators doing their very, very important job, because we have to reduce the polio, we have to work on the pandemics. They killed the vaccinators. They killed them on the street. Creating this fear is their weapon. They cannot and they won't give it up.
Nahid Farid is guarded 24 hours a day. She knows she's a Taliban target.
ISIS has a list of people that has to be killed. Taliban have a list. I'm in the list, in different lists.
With the Taliban resurgent and no foreign forces to back them, the Afghan people have reason to be worried.
Our soldiers are dying every day, and now they think that they're abandoned.
It's the women of Afghanistan who have particular cause for concern.
We had no freedom. Then 9/11 happened. Women made a lot of achievements. They became pilots. Women in uniform, they became engineers, doctors, you know.
Hundreds of them picked up their weapons recently as a show of solidarity against the Taliban.
When you gain something, you will keep it, you will protect it, you will fight for it, no matter how hard.
In 20 years, this war has already cost 241,000 lives, including 71,000 civilians. No one, including Nahid Farid, is in any doubt that there's more bloodshed to come.
You know, I'm the mother of 3 kids. They are targets. They are my weakness. We are counting on Australia as a country that helped Afghanistan. 20 years of treasure and blood has been invested in this country. Now we have to protect that together. We have a mutual goal.
While what we did in Afghanistan was costly and hard, the challenges of the future will be considerably greater. And for that, I think we need to brace ourselves.
Oh my God, hearing him say that, I think a question for me is around accountability. You know, we spent 20 years in Afghanistan, other Western forces spent 20 years in Afghanistan, and we're leaving the country potentially in a worse state than what it was or could have been 20 years ago. Who's accountable for that?
It's just ungovernable. I mean, the USSR couldn't do it back in '79. The West wasn't able to do it after September 11. The geography of the country, you know, the Taliban retreat to the hills. For only half the year can you even access them as fighters, and then they come back out of the hills, and as soon as you leave, they do what they're doing now. It's just horrible. That's all you can say.
And you've got to feel for all those families who lost loved ones, who feel now that this was just all pointless. Well, while Australian forces have pulled out, more than 100 of our interpreters are still waiting for their visas to be processed so that they can also leave. Some have been waiting 8 years.